Boosters. What are they? How do they work? What value do they bring? I have tested every single one that is currently available in Helldivers 2, and I can answer these questions. So let's get into it. Boosters are reusable items that you bring with you on a dive, and they provide additional team-wide buffs. These are unlockable with medals in Warbonds. There are currently 7 in the game. 6 are in the Helldivers Mobilize Warbond, and the Steeled Veterans Warbond contains 1. Hellpod Space Optimization grants fully stocked ammo, grenades, and stims upon exiting the Hellpod. This does not affect your support weapon. Your support weapon, if you bring one, is called in separately. It will not be called in with maximum ammo unless you have the ship module that allows this. Now, the ammo count for secondary weapons is not so clear-cut. If you run the P19 Redeemer, it always has maximum ammo available. All other secondary weapons will have reduced ammo without this booster. The P2 Peacemaker starts with 4 of 5 magazines available, and the P4 Senator has 32 of 40 rounds. This is 80% of their maximum ammo capacity. Grenades will be reduced by 1, and stims will be reduced by 2. The amount of ammo available for your primary weapon can vary. I didn't test every weapon for this, but for the SG-225 Breaker and the SMG-37 Defender, the total number of magazines for your primary weapon is reduced by 2, or 5 of 7. This is around 71%. For the SG-8S Slugger, you dive in with 24 of 40 rounds available, or 60% of its maximum ammo capacity. This one seems odd considering the P4 Senator has the same maximum ammo capacity but starts with 32 of 40 rounds. Pretty inconsistent, to say the least. This booster can be obtained from page 3 of the Helldivers Mobilize Warbond. It costs 15 medals, but will require spending a minimum of 50 medals to own. I feel this one shines in early game due to a lack of tools at your disposal, and the extra ammo, stims, and grenades are pretty handy. It kind of fell off in mid-game for me. The answer to every situation when leveling up was more bullets, heals, and explosions. But in mid-game, I found myself leaning heavily on turret, eagle strike, and support weapon stratagems to progress. In late game, pretty much anywhere you drop into on Suicide Plus is going to have enemies present, and a lot of them, even when the map tells you there are none. While at the same time, I still lean heavily on stratagems. The Hellpod Space Optimization booster is easy to get and gives each Helldiver, when reinforced, more resources at their disposal. This is definitely worth its cost, and the value it adds is even higher if anyone on your squad is running the Slugger. Vitality Enhancement allows all Helldivers to resist injury. Alright, what does that even mean? These little boxes that show up when you're in game mean that either one or more of your limbs is injured or your torso is injured. An injured arm, from what I've heard, will reduce your ability to handle weaponry. I don't see much of a difference at all. Something I didn't test was operating a terminal or throwing in stratagems. If you know what complications arise from arm injuries, please share it in the comments. An injured leg will prevent you from sprinting, and you will move much slower than you normally would. An injured torso equates to a bleed out. You will immediately lose all of your stamina, and you'll die if you don't fix it with a stim. Using a stim will clear any of these effects that you have. So how does the Vitality Enhancement work, Cash? Well, it's difficult for me to consistently test in combat. There are entirely too many variables to account for. However, I can injure my legs by falling off ledges. Falling off a ledge and landing on your feet can happen twice before you sustain 2 leg injuries if you aren't running the Vitality Enhancement booster. I haven't found that the height of a fall modifies this behavior. It could modify the amount of damage you sustain though. Also, a single shot to any limb or the torso from the P19 Redeemer will cause an injury. With the Vitality Enhancement Booster, you will sustain leg injuries on your third fall, and it takes 2 rounds from the Redeemer to become injured. Something that is interesting about this is that the Servo Assisted Armor perk provides plus 50% limb health. This is your very own personal Vitality Enhancement Booster. Unfortunately, the buff from the booster and the buff from the perk do not stack. But the extra limb health from Servo Assisted allows you to not sustain an injury from falling. You can land on your feet 3 times and not become injured. If you want to avoid injury from dropping from a ledge, dive. You'll only receive the damage portion. I have yet to sustain an injury from doing so. Consequently, diving through fired rounds will not provide the same protection. This booster is pretty nice considering a couple of things. The recovery time from falling off of a ledge versus diving off of a ledge is considerable. And 2, in a game where friendly fire exists, this can reduce the frequency of injuries sustained from other squad mates when things pop off, thus potentially preserving your team's stims. About the only thing that it suffers from is that anyone running Servo Assisted Armor will not benefit in the slightest from this booster, at least in my testing. The Vitality Enhancement Booster can be obtained from page 4 of the Helldivers Mobilize Warbond. It costs 20 medals, but will require spending a minimum of 95 medals to own. The UAV Recon booster increases all Helldivers' effective radar range. I can read targets on the map out to 110 meters with this. Without it, I can only see to about 72 meters. I have purchased nuclear radar, so I had some help from someone who doesn't have that unlocked. He could see targets on the radar 48 meters away, and with the UAV Recon booster could see enemies out to around 72 meters. Highlighting the fact that the description for nuclear radar is incorrect. Without it, my friend can see 48 meters, and with it, I can see 72 meters. So it isn't an increase of 50 meters, but an increase of 50%. I believe that the UAV Recon booster provides an additional 50%. Testing this is a bit wonky, so it is likely that some of these numbers could be slightly off. To get the ping distance to appropriately display on your map, you need to close it and reopen it again after moving. Even when you move, the distance shown on the radar is set to where you were when you opened the map. I also don't know if the distance shown on the radar is ignoring Z values for me and the enemy. Obviously, on the map, we're working with X and Y, but in the calculation for distance between me and the target, if Z values, or elevation, are included, this could cause some error in the values I'm representing here. As I've progressed in difficulty and have discovered that you don't necessarily want to engage every enemy on the map, I've become heavily reliant on my radar when navigating around the zone. I highly recommend both the nuclear radar upgrade and the UAV Recon booster. This booster can be obtained from page 6 of the Helldivers Mobilize Warbond. It costs 40 medals, but will require spending a minimum of 300 medals to own. The Stamina Enhancement booster increases Helldivers' stamina capacity and recovery. This is pretty easy to test. Run around, record, throw a timer on, and do some math. It takes just under 30 seconds to deplete my stamina when sprinting without using the Stamina Enhancement booster. With the Stamina Enhancement booster, my stamina is depleted in just over 38 seconds. This equates to an increase of roughly 30% sprint time. For stamina recovery, it takes just under 9 seconds to recuperate my stamina without using the Stamina Enhancement booster. With the Stamina Enhancement booster, my stamina recovers in just under 7 seconds. This equates to a decrease in stamina recovery time by roughly 23%. I play a lot of Darktide, and in this game, like Darktide, stamina is life. If someone else doesn't pick this booster in the crew I'm running with, I always take it, every single time. It's arguably the best booster of them all. The Stamina Enhancement booster can be obtained from page 7 of the Helldivers Mobilize Warbond. It costs 75 medals, but will require spending a minimum of 495 medals to own. The Muscle Enhancement booster allows Helldivers to traverse difficult terrain with ease. Pretty unclear description, I'd say. Here is a side-by-side comparison of running through the snow with and without this booster equipped. The difference is pretty evident to me. This will help your team ignore much of the traversal hindrances accompanying different environments like snow, sand, mud, etc. My results for running uphill are inconclusive, as it's difficult to find two identical slopes with randomization of maps being what it is. If you have any insight into this, please share it in the comments. This booster has a very particular use, and it really does shine when used appropriately. You'll need to pay attention to active effects for the mission. If rain is present, there will be mud, and this will come in handy. If you're going to a sandy planet with dunes everywhere, it will also be helpful. I discovered my appreciation for this booster when running a mission in snow. Trying to outrun a bunch of machines while high-stepping through knee-high snow certainly induces the pucker factor. The Muscle Enhancement booster can be obtained from page 9 of the Helldivers Mobilize Warbond. It costs 70 medals, but will require spending a minimum of 920 medals to own. It's a pretty niche booster, but I find it to be worth it if you have the scratch to spare. The increased reinforcement budget booster increases the number of available reinforcements. Arrowhead could have simply added some text at the end. This booster increases the total number of reinforcements available to your team by 1 per Helldiver. Pretty simple. For a full team, this increases your reinforcement budget from 20 to 24. I did test to see if this affects the number of rechargeable reinforcements. I found that it does not increase this number. You will still only have 1 reinforcement charge that can be recuperated after a 2-minute charge time. This booster, in my opinion, is incredibly expensive, and if you're in the position that you need 4 more reinforcements, any of the lesser expensive boosters you've hopefully picked up on the way to this one could have helped your team survive fine with 20 reinforcements. The increased reinforcement budget booster can be obtained from page 10 of the Helldivers Mobilize Warbond. It costs 150 medals, but will require spending a minimum of 1,350 medals to own. The flexible reinforcement budget booster reduces time until new reinforcements are granted once they've been depleted. All this does is decrease the time required for recuperating a single reinforcement after you've depleted your reinforcement budget. We're talking 12 seconds, a 10% reduction in time. This also does not modify the number of reinforcements that can be recharged. I would argue that this is the worst booster of them all. If this increased the total number of reinforcements you could recuperate once they've been depleted, it would have a better use case. If that were the case, it would put it in direct competition with the 1,350 medal increased reinforcement budget booster, and this one is much less expensive. If you are a bit of a collector like me, then pick it up. If you're not, save your medals. Hell, treat yourself to a few capes instead. The flexible reinforcement budget booster can be obtained from page 3 of the Steeled Veterans Warbond. It costs 75 medals, but will require spending a minimum of 275 medals to own. For a team of 4, I'd say always take Stamina Enhancement, Vitality Enhancement, and Hellpod Space Optimization. On missions where you aren't going to incur a movement penalty due to environmental conditions, take the UAV Recon booster for the 4th slot. On missions where you're going to move slower due to snow, sand, and mud, take Muscle Enhancement. I never take increased reinforcement budget or flexible reinforcement budget in my loadout. They're just not worth it. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to explore the boosters with me. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. And if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. Either or both of these would help me out a lot. And with that,